Welcome back to my shop. We had a winner on the Climber manual. Jeff Link was good enough to send me his book because he's getting a different motorcycle, so he gave me his book and some other things that I could have, and he said about having a drawing, so I did. So Mario in New York won it. I sent it out to him this past week. So this is Monday. He should have got it Saturday or today. And of all the winners, he won, and there was a lot of them. I counted them. I took my time. I said, I just want to see how many sent in. The total came to 6. 6 people. 6 people entered it. So I'm thinking in my mind when I put it up, what if all these emails I get and I got to put the names down and all this? So that worked out pretty good. 6 of them. So that wasn't so bad. And then I showed on one thing is I'm still working on my bike. I'm almost done. I'm getting there. Always something comes up. Had this bad cold, laid on the couch for a good while till it's starting to go away. Just started on my bike, went in that evening after I worked on it a good while. Lois said the hot water tank's leaking. I'm like, oh, come on. It was leaking. I said, well, we got to go get one. So we get one, brought it home in the car. And here, I used to always lay him on the back seat and I could close the doors and put it in there, but he threw me off, the guy. He said, you want a tall one? Well, I thought he meant one of them tall ones. I didn't want a short one, real little. And I said, yeah, well, tall is tall. And I couldn't fit it and close the doors. So I closed the driver's side door. The other door, it could barely come in at all. So I tied it, and we come home that way because on the right-hand side, passenger side, there's not going to be anything over there. So we come home real easy and got it home. And I always said when I get another hot water tank, I want to move it into a different spot. So I moved it to that other spot. That entailed arranging the plumbing, putting a longer 220 line on it. So I put a junction box up there, a big one. Put the wiring in it, connected it with the clamps and all that, and got it done. While I was at it, our kitchen sink had always dripped, and the faucet's kind of old, and I thought I ain't putting washers in it. I just picked up a new one. So the next day I did that. I finally got back out here, and as you can see, I went back to my leather saddlebags. It's nice to change it up once in a while, and I had shown I'd put locks on them. That's the one thing that disturbed me about using these, is no locks. Well, I put locks on them. I got the locks on. So I put them back on. I took the back rack off. I'm just having the pad and the 2 seats. Change it up a little bit. Always put the other ones back on if I want to. But when Jeff Link sent me the stuff, he sent me some other stuff. I had fuel in this to try it, so then I had to drain it and take it back off to finish this up in here. Some of the wiring, like my double sockets I put up front for my GPS, and then I can charge my GoPro. I have about 4 batteries and 2 GoPros, but I want to have charging ports, so if I go someplace I can charge stuff as I go. I have to wire that in. I took it off. I wanted to make it a little better than it was and everything. I'm redoing it over. But when taking the tank off, Jeff had sent me his board for blocking the tank up. This is the perfect size. I was always just grabbing a piece of 2x4, one that was close, fitted in there. But this I'm going to keep, and he has his name on it, so I like that. What I'm going to do is clear coat it so that stays on there. And every time I use it, I can think of him. But I set it on the battery, lift the tank, put the tank right up here. It's perfect, just enough to get your hands under. I can give a measurement on it if anybody's going to make one. And I like it smaller than the 2x4. So this board's 3/4 inches thick, 1 3/4 inches wide, and the important thing is it's 10 3/4 inches long. Works perfect. It's out of real nice hardwood. Fantastic. So I'm keeping that. And as I get it finished, then I had shown on my other video about that liquid I got from work. A guy gave it to me, I think back in '76 or something. It's a clear liquid. He gave me a quart of it. You brush it on metal and it really keeps the rust off. Don't know what it is because it's in a quart jar. They used to get it in a 55-gallon drum. They had to keep it locked because guys were getting into it and taking it home to do undercoating on their cars. Well, they put a lock on it because they said they only buy one 55-gallon drum at a time, and the guy that uses it, he's telling them it's gone, you know, I need more. So they put a lock on it. You couldn't get in it anymore. And the drum was laying on its side, so it ain't like you could unscrew where it's locked and then screw it back in. So they took care of that. But I had a piece of metal, and I had it hanging outside. I just brought it in. We had some snow, we had some rain. I wanted to see how it does for rust. And if you can see, the camera can pick it up. I have a mark down there. On the right, there was nothing. I cleaned the metal. On the left is where I put that coating. I put 2 coats on. And if you can see, it's getting rusted already on the right-hand side. The left, there's nothing. And I had brushed some of that coating on this side. Then I actually dipped it in there and held it and left it so it had 2 coats on. Makes a big difference. And that's what I used on my metal up under my fender. So I'm going to hang this back outside. I think I'm going to just leave it out there all winter and then see what it really looks like. See how that stuff holds up. But it should do good. And then, always something. We have a toy for our cats. It's a vinyl ring. Underneath it is a little rod that goes back and forth, and if they hold it, you can hear it clicking so it don't ruin it. And has a little fuzzy tail on it or something. It goes under there and they go crazy. Our cats got tired of it. Well, these 2 kittens like it. The one kitten, my buddy Tiger, she found out how to turn it on. There's a button on top. She don't push it, she gets down and bites it. Here she goes.
She turned it off.
No, she turned it up on the second and then turned it off. Last night, like 5 o'clock in the morning, she turns that on. It goes round and makes noise and lights up. There she goes. She knows how to turn it on. She bites the top of it. And then she goes someplace and sits and watches it. Hey, if you're not going to play with it, turn it off. Save the batteries. 5 o'clock in the morning, she turns that on. I'm laying on the couch. I fell asleep on the couch. I figured I'll just sleep there. And I was out. I hear this noise. What in the world? I get up. She turned that toy on. So I went over and I turned it off, hit the button, laid back down. A little bit later, that little fart, you have to take the batteries out of it because she knows how to turn it on. I'm like, you know, she's only like 6-7 months old. I'm like, that little fart, she found how, and she bites it because I watched her. I thought she'd put her foot on it. But no, she knows. And she'll go up there and she'll bite that a couple times till it turns it on. She pushes that button. So I got that to contend with. Oh my. Because the first couple times I asked Lois, did you turn that on? She goes, no. I said, well, I didn't. I said, she must, you know, they must have tramped on it. Then we turned it off. A little bit later, it's on. It kept doing that. And I said, so I sat there and waited. I thought, she's doing something. By God, she come over and she started biting at it and got it on. So I went over and I let her play with it a little bit, turned it off, and I went back over, sit down. She come over again and bit it and got it on. So she's a smart girl. Every time I go to do this bike, something comes up. So I didn't get much sleep at night because I was fooling with her. She's cute. You can't say no to her, so you let her play with it. Keeps me awake. Oh, my. Been a little warmer. I'd like to get this done so I can go out and try it. I got to set the carburetor, do that little bit of wiring. I have back here, I got my... The guy had this on it. That's the unit, and it has a little dial you can dial in, and you wire this in to your tail light. Just wire it in between the tail light, and then when you hit your brake, it flashes so many times and then quits. The more you turn this up, the longer it flashes. If you turn it clear up, it'll flash the whole time you have your... I like it to flash about 5 or 6 times just to get attention. I don't like it. He had it set clear up and it was flashing all the time. I didn't like that. I wanted it just about 4 or 5 times. You know, then if you leave it off, put it on again, it does it. So I got to wire that in yet. I just wired in tonight the part that goes over so I can plug my charger in. Got a new battery I bought in October. I bought it, so I got it because the other one was too old. It's getting old. I don't want to trust it, so I figured I'd just throw one in it while I'm there. Completely clean the bike. And then I want to answer, a viewer asked me, he must have a C50, but I didn't quite understand part of his question. I know he wants to know if there's tubes in this bike, and there is on the C50 that I have. And anytime you have multiple spokes like these, what I'd call the regular spokes on these bikes, like this one, multiple spokes like that, you have tubes in the tires, because these nipples down here for the spokes can't seal the air out. Now if you'd have 4 or 5 big cast spokes made with the rim, they're probably tubeless. I was asked that before, and I had talked about it. And then he said something I didn't quite understand, was about lifting the bike. I didn't quite... You don't have to lift the bike real high, just usually enough to get the wheel off the ground, and then you can slide it, turn it sideways and slide it out. What I used to do, I rode the Harley a lot. We went out of state and everything, the wife and I, and what I carried was, I had on the bike, because I have a sidecar, and behind a sidecar you have a trunk area. I would carry one of those scissor jacks, a small scissor jack for a car, and I could, whatever wheel would go flat, I could put it under there and jack the bike up. Now if you have a bike like this without a sidecar, you could use your back wheel and your kickstand and lift the front end, get right under the front of the motor there in the front of the frame. You could lift it so it's sitting on the back wheel and the kickstand. The bike will get high enough you can take it out. If it's a rear wheel, do the same thing back here. Get in a place where you can lift it, right? Usually back here, right before the wheel. Lift this, it'll sit on your kickstand and your front wheel, and you can get it up enough to get that out of there. But you're going to have tire irons, a patch kit, or better yet, another tube. Take it apart along the road, and I've done it. I've done it a few times in my, probably 3 or 4 times in all the years I've been riding. I had to do that. And I would just get another tube. I'd have a tube with me, and I'd put a new tube in. But I'd fill the tire real good, look for anything in it, you know, and then I'd take it apart along the road, put it back together. Because what else are you going to do unless you have service where you can call somebody, you know, like AAA, if that's included with that. I think my nephew said his is. But, you know, I have a trailer, Harbor Freight trailer that I hook on the car. I have to put the mount on the car because it was a different car I had. And a lot of times what I do is I would have a area right here, and I'd tell Lois, if I call you, you come with the car and trailer, but bring this stuff. And it was the jack, this and that. Maybe I could fix it there, maybe I couldn't, you know, I could just put it on the trailer. But she come out, I was about 2 miles out, about 3 miles out the road. I got a flat in a Harley. I'm like, what do I do? Well, I had that stuff there for Lois, and I told her there's a area with that stuff there, bring everything there, put it in the car and come out. She come out, I had the jack, I had an extra tube, I had everything I needed. And I told her, get a little jar or container of soap and water, you know, to put it back together. Then what I did was, only 3 miles from home, so she come out, I fixed it, I brought the tire home real quick, filled it with air, and went back out, put it on, and rode it home. So it worked good. But you have to think, you know, Scissor jack, I imagine you could get one in these saddlebags. You know, I don't know if it'd be too big. It'd be a lot of weight. You know, the smallest scissor jack you can get, they're solid. But you could put like the other one, you could put the tube in, your tire iron, stuff like that, if you're going to carry it with you. But if you're, you know, that's if you're out. Other than that, I don't know. Unless you would get one of those Harbor Freight, you could get it from Harbor Freight or anybody who would have the motorcycle jack that goes right under the frame, the smaller one. I mean, it's considerable. You'd have to put it in the trunk of your car. You could put it under there and, you know, jack it up, and then you could do either wheel. So there's all kind of thoughts on that. I just didn't quite understand how he was asking me about, you know, getting it up in the air. I didn't know if he meant at home or out, or maybe he don't have a jack at all and thought, well, maybe he could jack it up somehow to change. Maybe he's going to change his tires and tubes or something. But if I was at home, I would get one of those that go right under the frame. That's your probably cheapest way to go. Then this was the next one. This is the one I really highly recommend, like mine. It looks like the forklift. Then if you have the money and you want to do it and you have the room especially, you can put it up on one of the table lifts and go that route. So I hope that answers the question. I'm going to work a little bit tonight and then I'm about done. It's 10:15 at night, and I'd like to get this thing finished up because we're going to have a couple nice days. I'd like to set that carb and take it out for a little ride, make sure everything's all right. So thanks for watching, and have a good day, and thanks to Jeff Link for giving me that stuff that I could have a giveaway. And Mario, I hope you like the book. It'll service you well. It has a lot of information in it. Any bike I've had the workbook on it. And if you're going to get rid of your bike, unless it's like a friend of yours, don't say anything about the book. Get rid of the bike, then sell the book on eBay. I mean, you know, you can make a few extra bucks. Heck, what the heck? Unless you feel like, well, it goes with the bike. But when I bought this bike, I don't know if the guy had the manual on it or anything, but I know there was some stuff that was on it that I didn't get with it, you know, from his daughter. I imagine it's over there, and I imagine she'd put it on eBay or something and sell it. Make some extra money, which I don't care. I bought the bike as it was, happy with it. I really like it, but when I get a bike, I keep it for a while. One other thing is I have the back rim to do on this bike, and when I'm all done, I take a little bit of paper towel, put around the base of each spoke, and then what I do is I get my WD-40. But I've been looking about a lot of rust preventatives on YouTube. I could use that clear liquid, but another thing a guy showed that he says was better than this, and he shows it on there. He tests a lot of stuff. And Seafoam, he sprayed a little bit of Seafoam on stuff to keep it from rusting, and it did great. So I have WD-40, I can use or whatever, but I go on each base of those spokes where they go into the rim, put a paper towel right there, and then I shoot a little bit of this in there. Because in that hole, moisture in the air, water on the road, you get caught in the rain, or just wash the bike. That goes in there, and I change my own tires, and I always put a new tube in because that rust's in there. I clean the rim real good in there, and I spray some like that black paint that I like that works so great. I spray that in there and let it dry good, because I try to keep it, you know, the best shape I can keep it in. Because like I said, when I get a bike, I bought that Harley in 1983 and I still got it. I plan on keeping it a while, you know, unless I really don't like the bike and I figured, nah, I'm getting rid of it. But this bike, it's a little haunted, I think. I've had some wild times with this bike. I mean, ever since I got it, it's strange. You know, but my buddy owned it that I know real well, knew real well, and that maybe it's him up there fooling with me, is up there looking down laughing. Ah, you son of a gun. So have a good day.